Learning objectives. After completing this module, learners will be able to understand the ways how iron pillar and the inscriptions were used during Gupta period. Learn about stupa structure and their importance in Buddhist religion. Learn about different salient parts of Hindu temples as created in medieval India. Learn how monolithic temples were created in southern India. Understand the techniques being utilized to create artificial caves and monasteries. Learn how royals and merchants used to help in construction of stupa and temples in medieval period. Learn about the Ajanta and Ellora cave painting, sculpture, rock carving and architecture. Understand the origination and necessity of different literature composed in various regional languages other than Sanskrit. Learn how Jataka tales were successful to educate normal people about religion and morality. Iron pillars, stupas and temples. Iron pillars and Buddhist and Jain stupas. The 7.2-meter high iron pillar, as situated at Mehrauli, was created about 1800 years ago. Probably it was made during Gupta dynasty. Every stupa had a small box containing bodily remains of Buddhist monks had been kept under the earth. Later, the dome-like construction was done above it. The decorated railings and gateways were there in every stupa. While the railings surrounded the path, Pradakshina Patha, by which the devotees walk around the stupa clockwise. Hindu temples. Different deities like Vishnu, Shiva, Durga were worshipped. In the temples, in the Garbhagriha, the idols were placed. The shikara was structured upon the Garbhagriha, and inside the mandapa, many people can assemble in the temple during any occasion. Construction and administration of stupas and temples. The Sanchi stupa, it was formed by brick and stone. But in Amravati, the artificial caves were formed by hollowing out of the rock and created rooms inside the cave. Like in temple construction, we see in Bhetargaon, the conventional shikara structure was formed by separate stones at top. But in Mahabalipuram, the monolith structure was created by cutting and carving a single rock from the top to bottom. The king and queen specifically inspired the craftsmen to create the sculpture and other architecture. Different merchants and other people also gave the tributes in order to maintain the temples and stupas. Probably the assemblies of the craftsmen used to look after the entire operation of building these sculptures. Paintings. Ajanta Cave Paintings. Ajanta caves are located in the western part of Maharashtra and dated back of 2nd century BC to 5th or 6th century AD. It is assumed that the cave painting works mainly was done during early Gupta period. These caves were created artificially in the shape of horseshoe. There altogether 29 caves were created, among which most of them were viharas or monasteries and 5 were stupa shrines. The painting along the dark wall, sculpture, architecture in carving, Buddha's idol and delicately drawn murals are some of the specialities of these paintings. Rock carving sculpture in Ellora. Ellora is also a monastery complex cave pattern with sculpture and architecture like Ajanta. They are dated before 600 to 1000 AD approximately. In these caves, Hindu deities and Puranas were depicted in rock carvings. The monuments here were thought to be built during Rashtrakuta dynasty, and most of them were funded by the royals and merchants. Here more than 100 artificial caves were created, among which 34 are open to public now. Patterns of the cave's buildings and sculpture. As Ajanta painting is dated about 600 years before of Ellora, we can see the different styles as evident in both cave construction and architecture. In Ajanta, the styles of Bodhisattva was somewhat distinctive, but in Ellora, we can see the Gujarat carving pattern and other Indian architectural styles as merged with one another. Other than that, in Ellora, many well-decorated and sculpted Hindu temples can be found. Epics and long poetries written in different languages. Epics written in Tamil. Famous Tamil poet Ilango wrote an epic named Silapaddikaram around 1800 years ago. It narrated a story of a merchant whose name was Kovalan. He once was attracted toward a court dancer, but somehow he had to leave his ancestral city of Puhar with her wife and went to Madurai. There one court jeweler of the Pandya king falsely accused him of theft, and by the order of the king, he was sentenced to death. In the great despair, his wife Kannagi destroyed the entire city of Madurai. After 400 years, another Tamil epic was written, Sattanar, which named was Mani Mekallai. It was the story of the daughter of Kovalan and his old lover, who was a court dancer. Epics written in Sanskrit. Rishi Valmiki wrote Ramayana, which was about Rama, the prince of Kaushala. He fought against Ravana, the king of Lanka, who abducted his wife Sita. In this epic, the victory of Rama was described. Rishi Vedvyasa wrote Mahabharata, which was about the struggle between Kaurava and Pandava to gain the control of the throne of Hastinapur. In the battle of Kurukshetra, Pandava won over Kaurava despite they had meager force than the latter. Both of these epics were written properly during Gupta period for the first time. Long poetries and plays written during this period. Kalidasa wrote his famous long poetry, Meghadutam, during late Gupta period. Vishakhadatta wrote Mudra Rakshasa, a great play on contemporary lives and society. Folk tales, religious texts, and scientific research. Panchatantra and Jataka. Vishnu Sharma wrote Panchatantra, which was regarded as one of the most famous works of this period. It was translated into Persian and Arabic in the 8th century AD and has been translated into almost all European languages by the time. The popular work Hitopadesha is based on the Panchatantra. The Jataka tales were a voluminous body of literature concerning the previous births of Gautama Buddha in both human and animal form. Often, Jataka tales included an extensive cast of characters who interacted and got into various kinds of trouble, whereupon the Buddha character intervened to resolve all the problems and bring about a happy ending. It was mainly written in Pali. Purana and Smriti. The code of Manu or Manu Smriti was revised, and the code of Yajna Valkya and Narad Smriti were also written during this period. Basically, most of Puranas were recast in this period. As we can see, various Hindu deities were started to be worshipped, so different versions were coming out in larger numbers from different parts of the country. Scientific research and the scholars. In the field of mathematics, the book Aryabhatta was written by Aryabhat. He was the first to treat mathematics as a subject itself. He dealt with evolution, area and volume, progressions and algebraic identities, and else. In medical science, Charaka and Sushruta were two famous doctors of this period. A book named Hastya Ayurved was written in this period. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Around 1500 years ago, the iron pillar was erected in Mehroli. We can see many sculptures being carved on the railings surrounding the pathway around every stupa shrine. Inside the Garbhagriha, the idol of deities used to be placed in a temple. The artificial cave in Amravati was created around 2000 years ago. The Durga temple at Aihole was an example of monolith architectural pattern. Many merchants, royals and kings donated the money in order to build the stupa and temples. Ajanta and Ellora cave painting and sculpture was done by late Gupta period. From Tamil epics, we came to know about the society and economic oppression of royals to poor people during medieval era. Other than Ramayana and Mahabharata, several Smriti, Sutras and Puranas were also written during the Gupta era. Jataka tales and Panchatantra took a great role in public education and lesson of morality in the medieval ages. Aryabhatta, Barahamihir, Charaka, Sushruta and many others were eminent philosophers at that time who tried to know the mysteries of the world through research and scientific rationality and inquisitiveness.